Hello and welcome to Not Today with me, Rob Pittam. Thanks for joining us. Here's what's on the show today. First, Nottingham's Hospitals Trust has appeared in court, charged with offences relating to the deaths of 3 babies. Nottingham University Hospitals has admitted to failings in the death, which all happened in 2021, and has been prosecuted for the second time over failings in its maternity services. More on that in a moment. Plus, we'll be hearing how you can get involved with a campaign to support Nottinghamshire's vital canals and waterways. Later on in the show, we'll be hearing about the pleas for support from the Canal and River Trust, including the ways you can make a real difference to protect species and biodiversity. We've also been to the Fixers Cafe to find out whether fewer people are buying brand new due to the cost of living crisis.
We always see a big demand, particularly for electrical items, because they are the things that are most expensive, perhaps break most easily, but are things that people can't afford to get repaired.
And we've been to Beeston to see the unveiling of the second plaque to an inspiring woman.
To leave your family and your home to go and fight for better conditions for other people, other families and other homes is a brave thing to do any time really, but in the 30s especially so.
And in sport, we'll be hearing from a surprisingly upbeat Nigel Clough, who's positive despite falling to their 6th successive loss.
That's the way it's going at the moment, I'm afraid, and that's the difference. That is it, and the difference. Another 1-goal game, and we just can't get a break in that 6-yard box.
All that and loads more coming up, but first, and the trust in charge of Nottingham's hospitals has appeared in court, charged with failings in the care of 3 dead babies and the care of their mothers too. Nottingham University Hospitals, which is at the centre of the largest maternity review in history, admitted to failings in the 3 deaths, which all happened within 14 weeks back in 2021. Today, the Trust appeared in Nottingham Magistrates Court and heard victim impact statements from all 3 families. As a warning, some people may find details of this report from Jack Sims upsetting.
A hospital trust in court for failings which led to the deaths of 3 babies under their care. Nottingham University Hospitals, which runs the City Hospital and the QMC, has been charged again in relation to failings in its maternity services. This prosecution is being brought forward by the Care Quality Commission. It relates to failures by the Trust in providing safe care and treatment to 3 mothers and their babies at Nottingham City Hospital. That includes Daniela O'Sullivan and her baby Adele, who died shortly after her birth on April the 7th, 2021. The Trust is being prosecuted for exposing Daniela and Adele to a significant risk of harm, which it admits. It's also pleaded guilty to the same offences for the failings in the death of baby Kalani Rawson. He died from a lack of oxygen, hypoxic brain injury and complications relating to placental abruption, 4 days after being born at the hospital in the following June. The final charge relates to avoidable harm in the death of baby Quinn Elias Parker, who died at just 1 day old in July of that year. The Trust is also charged with exposing his mother, Emmy Studecki, to a significant risk of avoidable harm. The Care Quality Commission says the Trust did not ensure safe care and treatment to these mothers and their babies. That, it says, is due to a lack of adequate systems and processes which were not being properly implemented. Today, the CQC and the Trust are giving evidence and sentencing is expected on Wednesday. This is the second time NUH has appeared in this court for failings in maternity services. In January 2023, it was fined £800,000 over serious faults in the care and treatment of Sarah Andrews, which led to the death of her baby daughter, Winter. Today, the courtroom heard victim impact statements from the 3 latest families. That included how mothers had been harmed physically and mentally by their experience at the Trust, and how the last few years have been arduous, stressful. The Trust has issued a profound expression of apology and regret for the failings, and confirmed change has been enacted. But leaders will return to the same courtroom on Wednesday, where a sentence and likely a massive fine will be issued. Jack Sims for Notts TV.
Now, time for our first great guest on the show, and this one marks a remarkable journey of one mum in the county. February marks Eating Disorder Awareness Month, and for my next guest, it's a topic very close to home. Sophie Musgrove battled an eating disorder that stemmed back to her childhood. That left her going up to 24 stone in weight after struggling with the loss of her father. She even needed life-saving surgery in order to turn her life around, and she joins me now to tell us how she's turned her experiences into a campaign. And just as a warning, this chat will include details about addiction and mental health, which some viewers may find upsetting. Well, Sophie, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And this is a really difficult subject, but tell us a bit about the things you've been through, how it affected you.
Okay, so from quite a young age, I remember struggling with food, whether that was my weight or my relationship with food, and then that slowly developed into a full-blown eating disorder. I reached 24.5 stone. That was back in 2017, and I was told then by doctors that I would be lucky to see my children grow up. And that I needed to make some really severe changes.
And how did you feel? Were you aware of that it was a problem, but you were trying to tackle it, but you couldn't?
Yeah, I was, and I really did try to get help, and I was kind of met with, we can give you vouchers for Weight Watchers or the gym. I mean, at 24.5 stone, going to the gym just really wasn't an option for me. And I had tried sort of Weight Watchers, Slimming World, Atkins diet, you name it, I've done it. And I would lose the weight, and then I would just put it back on. And that was just a cycle that I was in for a really long time. So what worked? What helped? I did end up having bariatric surgery, which is a really it's a severe surgery, and I had a gastric bypass, and that basically made my stomach to the size of around a small orange, and obviously I was unable to eat the food. That's the problem with sort of binge eating disorder. Unlike other addictions, we can kind of take it away, but with food we need it to live. So yeah, it was just a case of having that, and I successfully lost around 13.5 stone in total. But the problem with that was that I then transferred it over to a different bad behaviour with food, where I just wouldn't eat as much, or it would make me feel physically ill. And it's common, isn't it, I gather, to have another addiction? Yes. If you had one addiction cured. Yes. Yeah. Transfer addiction is very real, and I believe that when you are sort of assessed for bariatric surgery, whether that be a bypass or a sleeve, they would ask you if you have had signs of drug addiction or alcohol addiction in the past, because it's obviously something that they're quite wary of. So yeah, and I believe now that even with the likes of Mounjaro, which I'm sure you've heard about, and the weight loss drugs that are going around, they're kind of quite keen to know if people still have eating disorders with those, because obviously it can come around in a different way, and it can be dangerous. And I gather you're now campaigning. What's your advice to people who are going through what you went through? I think for me, it's to get help, research it. Don't just go to the GP. The GP is great, obviously, and they can point you in the right direction, especially if you have one that's really sort of clued up with the psychological side of it. You can also go on to the likes of Beat. They're great. They can help you out. But obviously, everyone's eating disorder can be different and stem from different things, whether that be sort of depression, whether that be OCD. So it is really important to see a professional, absolutely. And it's much more widespread than people realise, isn't it, I think? Yeah, they reckon estimated about 1.25 million people are affected in the UK alone by an eating disorder. So yeah, and obviously that's what me and my partner do now with our company. We go into different workplaces and we try and educate them on addictions and eating disorders and how that may affect people in the work and home life too. And fantastic work. And how are you feeling now then? Yeah, I feel great. I mean, obviously it's something that I'm very aware of now, and I know my triggers and I know what not to do, and I know how to sort of prevent any downfalls. But yeah, I think it's really important to remember as well that weight change doesn't necessarily cure you from an eating disorder. So for people to just think if I lose all of the weight then I won't have an eating disorder, it's psychological. It's something that you will have to work on, and there is help there as well. And it's about people finding out that they've got a problem as well, isn't it, really? Yeah, absolutely. And it can stem from either something that may have happened in their childhood that they weren't aware that affected them as much. Or it could literally be, I mean, now they're saying a lot of it is sort of related to things like ADHD and ASD. You know, they call it like dopamine seeking, where they get that from food.
Well, sorry, I could chat to you all day, but we've got to move on. Thank you very much for that.
No,
It's fascinating. Thanks for coming
you.
in. Thank you. And if you're suffering with an eating disorder, you can access support from East Midlands organisation First Steps ED, which can be accessed by calling 0133 2367 571 or by going to firststepsed.co.uk. Right, let's have a look at some of your news headlines. First, and 3 men arrested as police investigate the death of a Nottingham taxi driver 30 years ago have been bailed. Hesham Ghaffur was found shot and bound to his steering wheel in Lamley back in November 1994. The unsolved case was reopened on the anniversary of his death. In total, 9 people have since been arrested, including 3 men in their 50s last week. Today, police confirmed all 3 have been released on bail. Next, and a busy Ashfield Road was closed in both directions following a crash just before rush hour. The incident happened on the A38 right outside Ashfield Fire Station with the fire service, Nottinghamshire Police and EMAS in attendance. Both appliances from the station attended the crash and lanes were closed on all the approaches. The road reopened just before 8 o'clock this morning, but motorists were urged to plan for alternative routes during rush hour. OK, pop out and grab a quick cuppa because we'll be back in a short while. We'll be heading to the repair shop, helping people to fix old items rather than buying new. And we've got a bumper sport coming next. Hello and welcome back to Monday's show with me, Rob Pittam. Hope you're doing well. Here's what's happening in Notts today. First, and a Nottingham councillor has quit his senior cabinet position after 9 months in the role. Councillor Pavlos Kotsanis, who represents Lenton and Woollerton East for Labour, was selected as the City Council's Executive Member for Adult Social Care and Health last May, as part of leader Nagat Khan's new leadership team. But he's decided to step down from the role to focus on his ward work and representing residents, as well as to explore opportunities outside the council. Next, and a new research facility aimed at unlocking the promise of zero carbon hydrogen fuels has been given the go-ahead at the University of Nottingham. The lab will be based on the Jubilee campus in Woollerton and will enable research and safe high-power testing of several green fuels like gaseous hydrogen and ammonia. It's part of a £70 million fund unveiled by the university last month, including private, public and grant funding to boost facilities for developing technology to decarbonise the future of public transport. Right, moving on now, and fans of the BBC show The Repair Shop might be surprised to know our city has something very similar of its own, though it's not based in a barn, but in a church hall instead. The Nottingham Fixers Cafe is helping our communities to fix their broken items rather than replace them, and it's something that's been proving extremely popular following the cost of living crisis. Lucy Marshall went down there to find out what it's all about.
Sherwood Methodist Church. You might know it for its masses or its wedding ceremonies, but this weekend it offered a different type of service. Nottingham Fixers Cafe set up its Bring and Fix session and welcomed Nottingham residents to bring along their busted belongings. Other repair cafes have been set up across the county in recent years, but Nottingham Fixers Cafe is the original, having started fixing in 2017. Yet, despite the growing competition, the cost of living crisis has meant that the cafe is as busy as ever. With less disposable income for people to spend on replacing items, organiser Sarah Malloy has noticed more people opting to fix instead.
We always see a big demand, particularly for electrical items, because they are the things that are most expensive, perhaps break most easily, but are things that people can't afford to get repaired or perhaps they don't believe they can even be repaired. So we had a little ride-on car today that a child had got for Christmas, and it had broken within 3 days, and it wasn't under warranty anymore to go back, and that was repaired. And the mum was saying how delighted and excited her daughter would be to see that little mobile kind of car back in one piece.
The cafe is run by budding volunteers like Sarah, who certainly know their stuff when it comes to fixing. From bikes to guitars, most items can be repaired, and it doesn't take long either. The Nottingham Fixers are also keen to share their expertise with the community to prevent essential repair skills from dying out. It was Pamela Davis's first sewing shift on Saturday, which allowed her to turn her personal passion into a valuable resource for others.
So basically that's what I'm doing, hand sewing, and whatever anyone wants, what I can do I will attempt, I will try. My parents being around in the war, it would be a case of make, do, amend. Don't throw things away. Make something new with it. I mean, now it's trendy and upcycling and all that stuff, but it's got to be imaginative. And if you do start feeling creative, it's a wonderful feeling. And in fact, today, it's a wonderful feeling helping people.
Whilst repairs are free, donations are encouraged so that the cafe can continue to offer its services. So, if you've got a broken belonging that needs a new lease of life, maybe think about fixing it first rather than replacing, to save money and the planet too. Lucy Marshall for Notts TV.
What a great idea that is. It's time for your sport now, though. We're starting with Notts County, who solidified their place in the League Two automatic places with a strong 2-0 win at home to Morecambe on Saturday night. The Magpies waited until midway through the second half to take the lead, and did so through January signing Charlie Whitaker in the 66th minute. In-form forward Alessandra Jatta then doubled the side's lead 9 minutes later. It lifts them up to second following defeat for Doncaster, and after the game, head coach Stuart Maynard praised his team.
It's another clean sheet. I'm delighted with it. The lads fought so hard. It was a really tough game. Before the game I said that they've got a good squad of players and they're difficult, and if you look at them, they come and caused us a few problems because they're so brave. They leave it 3 for 3 at the top of the pitch. We started the game, it was a bit frantic, and we played a bit frantic. We didn't play with that calmness that we've probably played with for weeks now. But we got in at half time and we got the detail into the lads, and they've come out and executed it, and what a performance, and from young Charlie Whitaker. Incredible performance, but the subs made an impact. Everyone did. Jarvis come on for Jody. He sets the goal up, and he was giving the fullback a terrible time every time he got the ball.
Into League One now, and sadly it was 6 losses in a row for Mansfield after they were beaten at home to Northampton on Friday night. Cameron McGeehan scored the only goal of the game 10 minutes into the second half. Mansfield had double the amount of shots but weren't able to find the net. The loss saw the Stags drop down to 14th in the table, with Nigel Clough's side now in the worst form of any side in the division. Speaking after the match though, manager Clough said the result is just the way things have been falling for his team.
Putting the ball in there for good areas, and we feel for Jordan Rhodes because he's made his career from putting the chances at 2 very good chances today. You get one of them, you get a point. You get both of them, you win the game. And that's the difference at the moment. They get free from a corner, end up heading one in. We get a similar situation, and we're just not quite finishing them. That's the way it's going at the moment, I'm afraid. And that's the difference. That is it, and the difference. Another 1-goal game. They defended very well, but we did create enough tonight. It wasn't as if we didn't have a shot or anything. I thought last 30 minutes, I thought we were very good. Macca put some great balls in, and you're just waiting for one to break in the penalty area. Aaron Lewis had a good header. The goalie made a great save, and we just can't get a break in that 6-yard box.
Meanwhile, Nottingham Forest haven't played yet this weekend because their FA Cup clash away at Exeter is scheduled for tomorrow night. Nuno Espirito Santo's side could book their place in the 5th round with a win at St James Park. No, not that one, the other one. And have just got back from a warm weather training camp in Dubai. Speaking to the media today ahead of the match, The Forest head coach said it was important for his players to get away and recharge their minds, but said their entire focus is now on getting through to the next round of the Cup tomorrow.
The approach is the same, exactly the same. We try to find all the details, took a good look at our opponent. They're a good team, but our approach is exactly the same. I think it's a good competition it's a reward for the players that are working so hard to have a chance to play, and this is how we're going to do it. It was good. I think the schedule allowed us to have a nice trip because we had time. Same time, I think it was important for us to be together. We had a chance to work in nice facilities, good training sessions. At the same time, we had a chance to enjoy ourselves and have spending some time together, always regarding the bond. But now everything is going to be judged tomorrow.
Sticking with the Reds, and the women have gone 3 points clear at the top of the Northern Premier Division with a win over the Liverpool Feds. Charlie Wellings opened the scoring from the penalty spot in the first half before Miri Chandarana slotted home a rebound shot later in the half to take a 2-0 lead into the break. A Mel Johnson brace in the second half secured a 4-0 win for the Reds in front of the City Ground crowd. Wolves women weren't in action in the league, so the victory lifts the Reds clear of their West Midlands rivals. Into ice hockey, and the Nottingham Panthers weren't able to make it 10 wins in a row when they were beaten on penalties by Glasgow Clan. The game at the Motorpoint Arena finished 2-2 and went to a shootout, which Clan managed to edge in sudden death. The loss followed a 2-1 win on the road against the Dundee Stars on Saturday, with the Panthers still third in the Elite League. Speaking after the Clan defeat, Panthers head coach Danny Stewart said they'll move on and focus on their Challenge Cup semi-final, which is on Wednesday.
Oh, it was a scrappy game. You know, there was a lot of stoppages, a lot of scrums, a lot of special teams, a lot of stop-starts. But you know, it's going to happen this time of year. You know, look, at the end of the day, probably the right result. I think it was one of those ones that was always going to probably end up in OT or a shootout. And once you get to that shootout, you know, anything can happen. But we've obviously got expectations now of a certain standard and how we want to play and the results we're getting. So you know, the guys will be upset off this one, but you got to get over it quick. And you know, 3-point weekend. You know, starting with a trip up to Dundee. You know, I think at the end of the day, you'll take that and move on. So you know, we got a big cup game on Wednesday to focus on right now. So you know, short memory.
And we'll have all the action from the defeat to Glasgow Clan right here on Notts TV this coming Wednesday evening, with a 2-hour show going out at 9 p.m, straight after Team Talk. Don't forget to tune into that. On to rugby, and Nottingham were comfortably beaten away at East Midlands rivals the Leicester Tigers on Saturday to make it 5 losses from 5 in the Premiership Rugby Cup. The Archers travelled to Welford Road hoping to pick up form in the competition, but conceded 9 tries, 6 of which were converted by the Tigers. Nottingham did manage 3 tries of their own, but it wasn't enough, and the Premiership side managed to finish with a 57-19 bonus point win. And in cricket, Nottinghamshire's assistant head coach Paul Franks will take on head coach responsibilities for this year's One-Day Cup. The Mansfield-born all-rounder has been the assistant at Trent Bridge since the winter of 2016 and will be in charge of the side for this summer's 50-over One-Day Cup in August and hopefully the final at Trent Bridge in September. He'll continue to be assistant head coach for the County Championships and Vitality Blast campaigns. Time for your photo of the day now, and a great shot taken at Trent Bridge by Mackenda Louise on Instagram. I cycled past that earlier on today actually, it was absolutely freezing. Time for your weather now, and tonight will be a rainy one with temperatures dropping to 2 degrees. Tomorrow will be a cloudy one for the most part with highs of 5 and lows of 3. Lastly, Wednesday will be a similar day with clouds, highs of 6 and lows of 2. Right, let's take another short break, but when we get back, we're hearing about how you can get involved with projects to protect our county's canals. And we're also looking at what's on guide on this wet Monday. That and loads. Hello and welcome back to Notts Today with me, Rob Pittam. Thanks for joining us. Here's some more of your news headlines on Wednesday. First, and the future of County Hall remains uncertain ahead of proposed reforms to local councils. Nottinghamshire County Council is due to move out of the West Bridgeford building within weeks so it can relocate to its new HQ near Hucknall, called Oak House. But it comes at a time when the local council structure in Notts looks likely to change, with the authority possibly being scrapped alongside district and borough councils to form new unitary councils. The authority's leader Sam Smith says the move will still go ahead, but County Hall may be needed in the future. Next, and a new pedestrian crossing has been approved on a Carlton road used by more than 9,000 vehicles a day. The County Council approved plans for the Puffin crossing on Westday Lane in Carlton last week, and the decision came despite some residents objecting to the plans. Objections included concerns over parking, but the authority said the crossing is needed to improve pedestrian safety. That's for both local school children and adults, with a survey finding 104 people use the existing unofficial crossing across a single day. Time for your What's On, where we give you a brief rundown of what you can get up to tonight to kickstart your week. And starting things off with a bang over at the Rescue Rooms on Goldsmith Street is a night with music band Bayside. Tickets are £30 and doors for it open at 7, and the music gets started at 7:30. Have fun if you're after that one. For a bit more music, then why not head over to Unit 13 for their Dirty Mondays, and that gets going at 10:30, and tickets are still on sale, so it's not too late. Lastly but certainly no means least is yet more music over at Oz Bar on St James Street, which gets going at 9 p.m, and you can get yourself tickets on Fatsoma. Now, do you want to make a difference to better the county's canals and rivers by helping ensure they're clean and safe for passerbys and our wildlife? Of course you do. Well, now is your chance to be a part of the positive movement, as the Canal and River Trust is calling for more people to step forward to become a volunteer to make a difference to our waterways. Last year, volunteers contributed to more than 160,000 hours to maintain animal habitats across our canal network, with over 4,500 people getting stuck in throughout the year. And they want to go even further this year with their help. Their East Midlands Campaigns Manager, Stephen Hardy, joins us now. Stephen, thanks for coming in. And that's a lot of people you've got already working for you. How many more do you need?
Well, how long's a piece of string, really? We have got some incredible volunteers. They do amazing things, but our waterways are 250 years old in places, and they need constant care and maintenance to make sure that they're protected for people to enjoy, that they're safe and enjoyable, but also that they're protected for future generations.
And what kind of things will people be doing if they come along? What will they get into?
Well, people can do various different things, really. Volunteer lock keepers, that's the big kind of iconic role that is very popular with people, where you're literally helping people through the locks and you're having a chat with people and just giving them a bit of local knowledge. But people can help with bits of gardening, hedge laying, they can help with our kind of office staff. So there's a multitude of different roles that people can do, and it's all tailored really to people's skills and experience.
And are you finding more people are coming forward? I mean, is the word getting out there? Are people interested?
Yeah, we've never had more volunteers, to be honest, which is fantastic, and they do amazing things for us. It's just that with the waterways getting older, they're suffering in terms of weather and more extreme storms and things like that, so they do need this constant care and attention, so that's why we're asking for more.
And it's amazing, people may not realise you're actually a charity, aren't you? You're running the canals and the rivers, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. People, often think that their local canal or river is looked after by the Water Board or the County Council. It's actually us. We are a charity, and so we do rely on people giving their support, either through donating money or, in this case, we're asking people to volunteer.
So what kind of feedback do you get from people that are doing it? What do they say to you about what they're getting out of it?
People love it. They absolutely love it. They come from a wide range of backgrounds. Sometimes they are just looking for something totally different to what they do in work. But they really enjoy it. It's the opportunity to get out in nature. It's really sociable as well. They really like the opportunity to work with people and have a chat, have a cup of tea, a piece of cakes and biscuits, and they really like that opportunity to give something back.
And how about you? When you're a professional, work alongside volunteers. How does that feel? Not frustrating at times?
Not at all. No, it's really refreshing really to get different people's insights, different people's kind of enthusiasm, find out their stories, find out what they do in their other lives. So no, it's brilliant. We love volunteers and we always want to see more.
And I mean, there's a massive canal network in the East Midlands, isn't it, and around Nottingham as well in particular. Have you got any favourite parts? Where do you like to be?
I really like the Grantham Canal. It's really green and rural. There's lots of wildlife there, but even in the heart of the city, even in Nottingham, I've been there and I've seen herons and kingfishers. So I love all of it really. It's also very different.
So how do people get in touch if they do want to do something? What's the best way?
Well, people can go to the Canal and River Trust website. We've got a really handy little tool there where you can put your postcode in and it will give you the roles that are closest to you. But also later this month in Newark, we're holding a welcome session where people can come along, find out a little bit more, have a chat to some existing volunteers, and if they're interested, sign up.
And do you have to be a certain type of person? Do you have to be like hale and hearty, pick up a shovel or something like that?
Not at all, no. We've got roles to suit everybody really, so we've got people from all ages, backgrounds. If you want to get physical and get into some digging or do some lock keeping, perfect, we've got that. But equally, if you want to work from home and help with some of our office work, then we've got a role for you as well.
And there's an awful lot of history and heritage that you're preserving there, isn't it? Do you get a kick out of that, or do they get a kick out of that?
Yeah, totally. They're so important as historical features. They're one of the finest examples of working industrial heritage anywhere in the world. So, it's amazing to follow in those footsteps and to make sure that we're protecting these waterways for future generations.
And kind of people might think, canals, a bit of history, but actually they've got a big role to play now, haven't they?
Totally, yeah. They can help address some of the biggest challenges we face as a society. So things like health and well-being, they're on the doorstep for so many people, and they provide green spaces for people to get out, go for a run, do some paddle boarding. They've definitely got a role to play in the future.
And are you hoping that after this broadcast on Notts TV, you're going to get flooded? What would you say? Flooded is probably not the thing you want, is it?
We're not big on flooding really, but no, we'd love to hear from as many people as possible, have a chat to them, find out what their experiences are, what their skills are, and what they'd like to get involved in. Okay, Stephen, that's great. Thanks for coming in. Lovely to speak to you, and good luck with the campaign. Thank you.
Cheers now. Right, time now for a reminder of your top story. And the trust in charge of Nottingham's 2 hospitals has appeared in court facing charges relating to the deaths of 3 babies and failings in the care of their mothers too. Nottingham University Hospitals, which is at the centre of the largest maternity review in history, admitted to failings in the 3 deaths, which all happened within 14 weeks of each other back in 2021. Today, the Trust appeared in Nottingham Magistrates Court for the first of a 3-day hearing and has already apologised for its failings. As a warning, some people may find details of this report from Jack Sims quite upsetting.
A hospital trust in court for failings which led to the deaths of 3 babies under their care. Nottingham University Hospitals, which runs the City Hospital and the QMC, has been charged again in relations to failings in its maternity services. This prosecution is being brought forward by the Care Quality Commission. It relates to failures by the Trust in providing safe care and treatment to 3 mothers and their babies at Nottingham City Hospital. That includes Daniela O'Sullivan and her baby Adele, who died shortly after her birth on April the 7th, 2021. The Trust is being prosecuted for exposing Daniela and Adele to a significant risk of harm, which it admits. It's also pleaded guilty to the same offences for the failings in the death of baby Kalani Rawson. He died from a lack of oxygen, hypoxic brain injury and complications relating to placental abruption, 4 days after being born at the hospital in the following June. The final charge relates to avoidable harm in the death of baby Quinn Elias Parker, who died at just 1 day old in July of that year. The Trust is also charged with exposing his mother, Emmy Studecki, to a significant risk of avoidable harm. The Care Quality Commission says the Trust did not ensure safe care and treatment to these mothers and their babies. That, it says, is due to a lack of adequate systems and processes which were not being properly implemented. Today, the CQC and the Trust are giving evidence and sentencing is expected on Wednesday. This is the second time NUH has appeared in this court for failings in maternity services. In January 2023, it was fined £800,000 over serious faults in the care and treatment of Sarah Andrews, which led to the death of her baby daughter, Winter. Today, the courtroom heard victim impact statements from the three latest families. That included how mothers had been harmed physically and mentally by their experience at the Trust, and how the last few years have been arduous, stressful. The Trust has issued a profound expression of apology and regret for the failings, and confirmed change has been enacted. But leaders will return to the same courtroom on Wednesday, where a sentence and likely a massive fine will be issued. Jack Sims for Notts TV.
Thanks, Jack. Right, let's take some more news now. First, a police drone was used to peer through the darkness and find a vulnerable man near an Ashfield nature reserve. Police were called to the Kingsmill Reservoir in Sutton just after 5 in the morning on February the 1st. The drone pilot used thermal imaging cameras to find the man on a footpath, track his movements and direct officers on the ground to find him. He was given the help he needed, and the police said the drone was vital in making that happen. Next, the force are appealing for help after a penny farthing bike was stolen from a Nottingham home. Nottinghamshire police say the distinctive bicycle was last seen inside a garage on Lenton Road in the Park back in December. Police have been investigating the theft since January and say the vehicle has green and gold covered wheels. Anyone who's able to help the force with their investigations is being urged to call Nottinghamshire Police on 0101. OK, it's time for one final break, but when we get back, we'll be hearing all about a festival of science and curiosity coming to various Notts locations from today. And we'll be hearing about a new plaque issued in Beeston. See you soon. Hello and welcome back to Monday's show with me, Rob Pittam. Thanks for joining us. Here's some more of what's happening in Notts today. First, highways engineers managed to complete repairs to a Nottingham bridge early, minimising disruption to motorists. National Highways closed off the A52 roundabout near Nottingham's QMC so it could finish off replacing a damaged beam. It meant closures were in place at the roundabout and Middleton Boulevard from Friday evening, and they were due to be lifted this morning. But the engineers said the work was actually completed more than 12 hours earlier than planned. Next, plans are expected to be approved this week, which would confirm the permanent location for market traders in Arnold. The traders used to be based on Market Place, but moved to their current home on Eagle Square, so the new AMP facility could be built. But Gedling Borough Council then started inquiring with traders and shoppers about keeping this location, and this got positive feedback. A planning committee meeting this week is expected to see official planning consent granted on Eagle Square to make the move permanent. From one high street to another now as we head to Beeston, and the official plaque unveiling for only the second ever iconic woman in the town. Nan Green was an activist, a fighter and a feminist, and was recognised during a ceremony in the town on Sunday to remember her fighting in the Spanish Civil War and for supporting people closer to home too. Our reporter Katerina Sabadash was there.
An activist, fighter and pioneer feminist. These are the words used to describe Beestonian Nan Green. She's become only the second woman to receive a plaque in her memory across the town centre. Around 90 years ago, and without any weapons, she put a fight in the Spanish Civil War, serving as a nurse and a member of International Brigade. To honor the incredible achievements, she was chosen by the Beeston Civic Society as a figure for this new plaque. Tamar Feast, the leader of the project, shared her motivation for choosing the inspiring woman.
To leave your family and your home to go and fight for better conditions for other people, other families and other homes is a brave thing to do any time really, but in the 30s especially so. When women had fewer opportunities, there was less equality, then people might live around here, walk around here and never for a moment thought about the woman who lived in this house.
Apart from being an activist, Nan left behind something more important, 5 grandchildren. They travelled from London to see the plaque unveiling.
So she was just, I'm just getting on and I'm doing my stuff and I need to do this stuff to help other people. She didn't really want acknowledgement as such. So I think it'd be ironic, but I think she should be a celebrity.
After returning to England, Nan Green became a secretary of the International Brigade Association, remembering all those who volunteered to defend democracy in Spain. Her colleagues and friends from the brigade came to the opening of the plaque and shared their memories of her.
I remember Nan Green. She used to run some wonderful events for the International Brigade Association. I remember her putting on Spanish dancing and things like that.
We all hoped that the brigaders who went to Spain to fight for democracy in Spain, we always wanted them to be remembered. Their memory is still around and it's still being honoured, and people are still sort of impressed with what they did and the cause they fought for in Spain.
The revealing of the plaque is more than just a name on the wall. That's because the Pittam Civic Society says remembering women in past helps to change the perception of women in the present and the future too. Katerina Sabadash for Nods TV.
An amazing story, that. And right, time for our final guest and to chat all about a festival of all things science, which is returning to Notts with the hope of provoking curious questions and a chance to inspire young minds. The Notts Festival of Science and Curiosity is celebrating a decade of sparking a love for the subject through a programme of free events across the county. Its mission is to engage hard-to-reach families and inspire a love of science education, and has things for people of all ages, both this week and in the upcoming half-term too. Programme Manager at Ignite, the charity that runs the festival, Megan Shaw, joins me now. And Megan, thanks for coming along. In 10 years, that's great, isn't it?
Yes, thank you for having me. Yeah, we're into it now. First day of the 10th festival.
And what kind of stuff's going on the next week and beyond that?
So this week we've got lots of activities happening in schools. So we've got scientists going in and doing workshops. We've got pupils coming and visiting different sites. And then next week it's the half-term holiday, so that's when we put on lots of free events all over Nottinghamshire for people to come on down to.
And is there an appetite for this? You know, I've heard that in education, you know, science subjects are becoming more popular.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've been involved in the festival. This is the 9th one I've done, and we see the same families coming back year on year, which is really lovely. And we see new audiences building. And yeah, there's always some of our events sold out within like 3 days. So yeah, there's definitely lots of people with curious minds in Nottinghamshire.
And what kind of things are you going to learn about? Is it going to be AI, global warming? I mean, there's some pretty big things out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of like really topical stuff. So there's stuff to do, yeah, with like robotics and AI. Lots of stuff around kind of sustainability and like engineering solutions to that. And then there's your traditional chemistry, biology, we've got some sports science, lots of different things.
Brilliant. And you mentioned you go to schools. What kind of schools, you know, who are you aiming it at?
All over the place, really. We've got lots of primary schools having workshops, secondaries as well. We've got a whole programme working with children in special schools where they've been having chemistry students go in and deliver chemistry experiments with them. And they're going to be coming to an event on Wednesday and sharing what they've done in those sessions as well. So yeah, really, I think there's about 50 schools involved this year.
And you said, you know, what, you've been going 10 years. Have you seen people go right through and go on to study science? Yeah,
we actually have some photos of families like over the years, and you can kind of see the children grow up, and you see them next year and they've shot up. So yeah, there's we've definitely
That must be a great feeling for you to see that happen.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, really.
And I guess
nice.
people come along not realising that, you know, the careers they can go and the routes they can go down as well. There's a part of that, explaining that to them.
Yeah, it's all about opening up opportunities. If people don't know what you can do with physics, or they don't know what you can do if you get really good at maths, then they're not going to really pursue it. So it's all about opening up those opportunities. There's so much on offer. People really get a sense of like, oh, that's not for me, this is for me, and kind of get a flavour of different things. And hopefully, yeah, it sparks some kind of, you know, future like inventors and people are going to make amazing discoveries.
And the kids have got so much on their plate these days as well. How do you manage to fit it all in? How do you manage to grab their attention?
Yeah, so we work really closely with our researchers and scientists to make sure that the activities they're doing are like accessible. They're not, some of the language that they use, obviously you need that scientific language, but making it really like hands-on and making kind of relevant to people's lives as well. So we really work closely with them to make sure that what they put together is kind of going to land with people.
What do you reckon is going to be the top demonstration this time around?
Well, slime is always popular. And the planetarium shows as well are always really popular. So we've got quite a few different events where we have like these pop-up kind of inflatable planetariums, and you can go inside and you kind of look up and they put on a show. So those are, all of our venues want to host that. So those are really popular, yeah.
And so people, you know, you've got schools this week, but after that, presumably you're open to the public, are you, in public venues?
Yes, so from Saturday and then rolling through till next Friday, we've got events happening all over the place. So in libraries, in museums, in community centres. Some of them you need to book tickets for, free tickets. Others you can just come on in, drop in any point throughout the day.
So name a few venues, where can people go?
So pretty much, I think there's 6 libraries in the city. There's probably about 15 libraries in the county. So Mansfield, Worksop, Eastwood, all over the place. Bassett Law Museum, we've got the D.H. Lawrence Birthplace Museum involved, Woolerton Hall, Greens Mill, really loads of places.
Fantastic. And how can people find out more?
So head over to our website, nottsfosac.co.uk. All of the events are listed up on there. And we've also got a festival magazine as well. So those are out and about around in libraries, so people can pick one of those up.
That's great, Megan. Fantastic. Looks very good. Sounds brilliant. Good luck with it. Right, elsewhere on the channel, and on Friday we aired the latest episode of the Notts TV debate, where Francis Finn returned with a panel of great local guests to talk over the hottest issues hitting the headlines. You can catch that on demand at nottstv.com, on our official YouTube channel, or on the channel throughout the month. Here's some of the debate on whether children should get flexi leave in the middle of term time.
A week off in term time to be taken when the school approves it, so not everyone's off at the same time. This is the idea of a Nottingham man, Andy Gillen, who says that this will provide teachers and children the opportunities they need to have the right balance of rest at the right cost. And he was saying on Notts TV that perhaps the teachers could set the kids the work that they're missing. They could do it on an iPad. Everyone's happy. What do you think, Francois?
Absolutely. Well done, Andy. Fantastic for championing this idea. And as a parent of an 11-year-old, half term's coming up, we're going away, and it's 3 times the cost. It really is expensive, to the point that it's not really affordable. And later in the year, during the summertime, yeah, it's important for families, obviously with low incomes, that they still able to go on holiday, because the summer holidays, it's very expensive and limited availability as well.
John, I know you take a slightly different...
Good debate, that. Another look at your photo of the day now, and a great shot taken at Trent Bridge by Mackenda Louise on Instagram. Time for your weather now, and tonight will be a rainy one with temperatures dropping to 2 degrees. Tomorrow's cloudy for the most part, with highs of 5 and lows of 3. Lastly, Wednesday will be a similar day with clouds, highs of 6 and lows of 2. And that's the end of the show. Thanks for joining us on what's been a very, very cold Friday, a very cold Monday in fact. I'm sure Friday is going to be cold too. We'll be back tomorrow. See you later.